Welcome to the Smart Publishing Impact Series. I'm Renée Lautermilch, Chief Editor at Smart Publishing, and this is the podcast where we explore all things writing, publishing, and the impact of storytelling. In each episode, I'll share insights and strategies to help you navigate the book journey, whether you're writing, publishing, or already an author. Plus, you'll hear from inspiring authors who are using their book to change lives. And if you're passionate about storytelling and ready to make an impact, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Now let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Smart Publishing Impact Series with me, Renée Lautermilch, Chief Editor at Smart Publishing and your host. Today's a solo episode, but I do want to have a couple teasers for some upcoming episodes that will have guests pretty soon. In May, I'm going to have one of our authors on, Victor Fernandez. He authored a memoir a little while back called Reclaiming My Authentic Self, and it is a deep dive into how he climbed out of sort of what was expected of him, and really the paradigm that he learned growing up as far as you do everything for your family and you sacrifice your own happiness and your own hopes and dreams. He's built an incredible life with his family, taking them along with him with his fitness business and everything. He's got an incredible fitness story as well. And so the book is really, really powerful in that it challenges all of us to really make sure that we are optimizing this life that we have towards going after our dreams and the things that make us happy, because it's funny, when we do that, our family ends up benefiting as well. I also am going to have my own co-founder of Smart Publishing and husband, Jonathan Lautermilch, on the show real soon too. So we're still talking about that, but really excited about it. So today, again, it's a solo episode, just me. I haven't done an episode on this yet, and I surprised myself this morning when I was going through my list of things that I want to record podcast episodes about, and I saw this on there. I realized, wow, there's so many people out there who really don't understand how Amazon KDP works, and there's a lot of misconceptions out there as well about how Amazon KDP works. And so I should just record an entire episode to educate my listeners about how Amazon KDP works. Because unless you've just been in it, as much as I have, how would you know how it works? So I'm going to go through it top to bottom. And I will start at just the entire concept of getting a book printed. So if you've written a book and you're looking to publish it and you're trying to figure out how to get it out there to the market, there's multiple ways that you can go. Traditionally, before the rise of on-demand printing, which I'll get to in just a second, what you had to do is you had to find one of these printer/distributor organizations that would do your book printing, and then they would also do your warehousing, so they would store it, and they would do the distribution as well. Now, this is why 20 years ago, there were far less self-published authors out there, because the barrier to entry was really high. Because if you went that route, you were looking at thousands of dollars of a setup fee, which just means that they have to do certain specialty things to print your book, especially if you had specialty considerations that you wanted, like you wanted the cover to be fancy leather bound and embossed or whatever it might be. The prices could go everywhere from a few $1,000s to upwards of tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars when you counted, your setup fee, your inventory fee, your warehousing, your distribution, all of that. So you'd have a setup fee for your specific book because your book is not like anybody else's book. And then you would have a minimum inventory requirement. So they would require you to purchase typically around $5,000 to $10,000 worth of books. And this is still something going on today. And that's why I want to really stress the value of on-demand printing to anybody who's listening to this, so that you know that this more antiquated option, it's not your only option. It's a huge startup cost to go this route. And then, of course, you're paying typically a monthly fee. Sometimes they annualize it for them to hold on to your book, unless you ask them to ship it all to your home, and then you've got boxes and boxes of books sitting in your garage that you are then going to the post office or UPS to ship out on your own every single day. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Like who wants to deal with that? So either they do it for you at a cost, or you do it for you at a cost of space and your time, which, your time is probably your most valuable resource. So that's kind of the old school way. But through the years, and more recently in the last 10, 15 years or so, on-demand printing has taken the front seat when it comes to people who are printing, publishing books, and getting books out there. So now you can go to a platform like Amazon KDP, and you will not have a setup cost. You will not have a minimum order requirement, and you won't have to pay any upfront costs. When you use a platform like Amazon KDP, it is completely free for you to publish on there. You pay nothing to publish on that platform. And the way that they make money is they don't even print the book until somebody orders it. So when somebody orders it, they have different print centers that are distributed throughout the world, actually, because it's not just in the United States that they have this infrastructure. And when somebody orders a book, they print it to ship. So they print it at one of their print centers. Over here where we live in the Dallas, Texas area, it's actually Capel, Texas, where all the books are printed for this area. And they ship it out, and they have a certain print cost. So that is coming out of your master price. So let's just say you have a paperback book and you set it at $9.99, and it's somewhere around 150 pages or so. Well, about $2.40 is immediately getting deducted out of that because that's the print cost. And then, of course, they keep a share of the royalties on that. So if it's a print book and you don't have expanded distribution, they're going to keep 40%. Of that after deducting the print cost. And that's how they're making money. But then you're making money at the same time on that 60% after deducting for the print cost. So that is sort of a high level when we get to how Amazon KDP works and why on-demand printing is great, super flexible. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions about, okay, if I do Amazon KDP, that means I can only have a Kindle. That means my book is only available on Amazon KDP. So let me go through that. So first, when you publish on Amazon KDP, you have 3 different types of formats that you can publish on. And that is Kindle, which is your digital ebook format. That is paperback, and it is hardcover. And I especially love the way that they do their hardcovers. So if you are watching on video or YouTube or something, you'll be able to see this. If not, you won't be able to see this. But what I'm doing is I'm grabbing 2 different books here that are sitting on my shelf. One book is mine, and it's a hardcover, but it's a case laminate. That is the specific type of hardcover book that Amazon KDP produces. And when you have a case laminate, that means that the actual hardcover is what's printed on. There's no jacket that is constantly driving you nuts coming off of the book. It's part of the book, and it looks really good. You can do it in a matte, or you can do it in a glossy format, because you do have some options within KDP's parameters of how you want your book to look. So you've got a case laminate as opposed to the old school style of paperback that has that printed glossy jacket that comes off. And if you have a toddler like I do, she's constantly taking them off. And I had to look really hard on my bookshelf because I only have 2 more books that have a jacket cover, that are hardcover with a jacket cover, that have not been ripped and shredded, or that have not been taken off and crumpled. And so now I'm just left with sort of the naked book here. So I think that case laminate is far superior. I vastly prefer it myself for all the reasons that I just went through. But that is one of the 3 different formats that you can print on with Amazon KDP. Now, I talked about how you have to work within their parameters. So There's a whole list of trim sizes that you can look up, but it's a pretty good list. And trim size just means what are the size dimensions of your book. You can go pretty big, you can go much smaller, but you have a lot of different options in terms of how big you want your book to be. Like I just said, in terms of cover, you can choose from glossy or matte cover based on your design. Some designs will look better in matte. Others will look better in glossy. You even have different paper types. So you can choose from white paper or cream paper. You know, we recently did cream paper on a couple of books. And again, based off of the design, it can look really, really good. One of our authors that we did it on, his response was that it looked luxurious. And I love that. And then, of course, you can choose black and white ink, standard color ink, or premium color ink. So if you're doing something like a children's book, for example, you're going to want to go with white paper and a premium ink. So again, if you're watching on video, I'm holding up one of our children's books that is super, super cute and is a great example of how beautiful, you know, the inside of your book can be if you have something that is an illustrated book. So lots of different options that they give you in Amazon KDP when you're going through and you're doing your book print setup. Now let's talk a little bit more about formats, because, you know, obviously a lot of people are concerned because they think that it's only on Kindle. We always do Kindle, because why would you miss out on a share of the market, you know, if it's that easy to just get an ebook or an EPUB file created along with your print file. But if you never know the amount or sort of the percentage of books, if you've never known the percentage of books based on format that people buy, ebook is smaller. And so for those of you who are prioritizing, you know, paperback and hardcover, that's good. But again, there's really important reasons that you don't want to miss out on doing a Kindle copy. So paperback and hardcover, basically print versions of your book, that's going to be responsible for around 84% of your books sold. Will likely be through those formats. And that's from a lot of different international book sales data that shows that roughly about 84% of books sold are sold in a print copy. People still vastly prefer to hold a physical copy of a book in their hands versus an ebook. However, you know, 16% of the market is still really important. And what's really important for us at Smart Publishing when it comes to publishing on Kindle is that's where you get your bestseller ranking. I'm not saying that you can't qualify for bestseller on paperback or hardcover. You can, but it's a totally different ball game. And if you try to release a book and hit bestseller and you don't have Kindle and you're not doing a one-day Kindle only release, you are highly, highly likely to miss out on hitting bestseller. And that is because of how bestseller is calculated. Bestseller is calculated through orders, not sales in Amazon. And so when somebody orders a print copy of your book, it's not immediately counted as an order. It's not counted as an order until it works its way through the queue, prints, and ships, because at that point, you can't cancel the order. You have to wait for it to arrive and then return it. And that's how Amazon looks at an order. Now, the problem with that is, based on where you are in the queue, based on where you are in the United States, based on where you ordered, based on a variety of factors, that means that that purchase may count as an order anywhere from the same day the sale happened all the way up to 5. I've even seen 7 days after the sale happened. The problem is bestseller is calculated on one-day sales. So, ladies and gentlemen, what that means is if you're trying to hit bestseller with just a printed copy of your book, that's not within your control. You may have a bunch of people buy the book all on one day, but those sales may be sprinkled into becoming orders throughout 7 days, reducing the amount of same-day, one-day sales. Kindle, on the other hand, it's digital. It's a digital release. So that means that pretty much moments from the time somebody purchases it, it turns into an order because it's digitally delivered. The delivery is almost instantaneous. And so that means that everybody who purchases your Kindle book on that day counts as an order that day. There may be as much as a 2-hour delay sometimes we see, but it still counts as an order the same day that it was purchased. So that it could honestly go into an entirely different episode around bestseller and everything, but that's why you don't want to sleep on Kindle. Okay. So that's what your formats look like. Again, there's no additional cost to doing all 3 formats because it's a print on demand infrastructure, which is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, here's another misconception about KDP. KDP, people think, okay, well, now my book is only going to be on Amazon. Not true. So first, it's great that it's on Amazon because over 60% of books sold are sold off of Amazon. And over 80% of books that are sold online are sold on Amazon. So they are a behemoth and by far the largest book retailer in the world. So yes, you want to be on Amazon. If you're not, you are vastly missing out. But you also get the option to do expanded distribution as well, okay? So expanded distribution means that you are put into an ISBN database that bookstores, libraries have access to so that they are able to order inventory of your book, okay? So I'm gonna start to explain a little bit more about that. But first, I just want you to know that Amazon KDP, because I forgot to mention this, they're international as well. So when you're publishing your book on the US market, it's also available in the Japanese market, the Italian market, the Canadian market, the UK market. I could go on and on and on. They have a huge international distribution for books. Going back to expanded distribution. So let's talk about expanded distribution because I feel like there's a lot of authors who get really caught up in expanded distribution and they sometimes index the value of expanded distribution over the value of being on Amazon. And that is misplaced energy. Very, very misguided to do that. I think that comes out of just sort of this like romantic idea about being in a physical bookstore or a library. It's kind of something that feeds our egos a little bit, because it's like, oh, wow, look, I've made it. I'm in a Barnes and Noble or I'm in a library and it's really cool, right? It's really, really cool to see that. But there's not a lot of people who are getting books that way. I think Barnes and Noble is somewhere around like 18% of the market share, and that's both online and physical store. Now, when you're looking at physical space in a store or a library, keep in mind, just because you're in expanded distribution, which you can get the same thing through Ingram Spark, Lulu, some of the other on-demand printers, it doesn't mean that they're just stocking everything and anything. They're going on and they're using a lot of data to determine what they stock. And so just because you have expanded distribution through whether it's Amazon KDP or Ingram Spark or Lulu or whatever, it doesn't mean that you're actually being stocked in those locations. There is time and energy and a marketing B2B strategy that you have to employ to try to get stocked in those stores. And I honestly think that if you're doing that, it's a misuse of your focus because, again, that is a much smaller part of your market that is looking in libraries and is looking in physical stores. The majority of your potential market is on Amazon. And so focus your energy there because that's going to be, at the end of the day, no matter where you publish or who you publish through, that's going to be where you make the majority of your book sales. And then you also have to come back to what your goal is. If you're really focused on getting in physical bookstores or you're really focused on getting in libraries, is your goal to, increase your brand credibility, your personal, your professional credibility? Does your book have a specific business strategy or a funnel that's attached to it? Because if that's the case, again, the 2 to 3 people who pick up your book in a library out in Wyoming probably are not going to really lean into your strategy very effectively. It's probably going to be a lot smarter to focus your energy on driving sales on the world's biggest by far, book retailer. So while it is cool, I wouldn't spend a lot of energy on it because the numbers just show that you're going to get vastly, vastly less readers that way. And unless you're trying to become a top 1 to 5% author, you're not going to make a living off of your royalties. And so the goal of your book has to be strategic. And if it's strategic in terms of building your personal credibility, building your brand, making some kind of impact, if it's a direct business strategy like a funnel, your goal then is to get your book in front of as many readers as possible. So you shouldn't get caught up on how many royalties you're making. If you're in a library somewhere, what you should be caught up on is, how do I get as many readers as possible? How do I get my book in front of as many people as possible? And honestly, if maybe you're a fiction writer or you're a children's book writer or something, and your goal truly is to become a top 1 to 5% author, if that's the goal, you really, really, really either have to go the traditional publishing route, because those are marketing behemoths like Random House, Merriam-Webster, Scholastic, those kinds of just giants that have millions and millions of dollars of marketing dollars, connections, and stuff behind them. So you really either have to go the very long and very, I would say, discerning route of querying a literary agent, because you can't just send your manuscript to a traditional publisher. You have to be represented in the majority of cases by a literary agent, and they only take about 1 to 2% of manuscripts that are sent to them. So that's what I mean by discerning. You either have to go that route, or you have to, go viral by some sphere of influence. Either you're really good with metadata and, search and things like that, and your book is just amazing and highly addictive, and somehow it catches fire, within Amazon. Or maybe, there's some publications, or there's a TV show, or a YouTuber, or some kind of sphere of influence that your book gets picked up by and gets talked about on. Those are really going to be the ways to try to get into that very, very, small realm of authors who are making enough money off of their royalties to actually make a living off of it. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about when it comes to, publishing on Amazon KDP. So again, remember, you've got multiple formats that you can publish on. It's on-demand publishing, which means that you don't pay a thing to publish on it. You get international distribution. You get access to expanded distribution. But again, make sure that you're not chasing, the 15% and forsaking, the 60 to 80%. Because it's cool for all of us to have our book in a bookstore or a library, but again, just not the way the majority of people are buying books these days. And then, there's a lot of different options as well within KDP for your book setup when it comes to paper type, ink, trim size, all of those things. And I think the last part I didn't touch on is royalties. So like I've said in previous episodes, the riches ain't in the royalties. But if you do want to know, you get 70% on Kindle, less your delivery fee, which is typically about 8%. It depends on the file size. So they deduct your delivery fee out of that. And, it just has to be $1.99 or more. If it's any less than $1.99 that you're pricing it for, you're only going to get 35%. So as long as you're $1.99 or over in your pricing strategy, which you put your own prices into Amazon KDP, you set your prices, then it's going to be 70% royalty less your delivery fee, typically around 8 cents. And then if you have print, then you're going to be getting a 60% royalty less your print cost. So let's just say that your paperback book costs $2.50 to print, and you've got it priced at $10. Well, $10 minus $2.50, and then you take 60% of what's left, and that's your earnings. So that's everything that I have for you guys. I hope that I cleaned up some misconceptions about Amazon KDP. I hope you're excited by what you learned. It's a great platform. It's why it's my publishing platform of choice when it comes to all the different publishing platforms. And as always, I know I got very passionate, but that's just because I want you to win. I want you to be successful. I want you to have, an intentional strategy with your book that is going to move whatever it is you're trying to move forward. As always, if you are on Facebook, search me, Renee Lautermilch. I'm the only Renee Lautermilch in the world. You're not going to find any other ones. Add me. Please go and find our Smart Publishing page, like and follow our page. If you don't already subscribe to this podcast, definitely hit the subscribe button, review, and as always, keep writing your story because the world needs your voice.